Kiara Buford from St. Paul, Minnesota.
All right, we're going to get straight into it. I'm going to put all your accolades on the screen. It's too many to name. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you know, I'm going to put it all up, but we're going to get into some of it. But I got to ask you first, what was the first sport you played growing up, and what was the first rec center you played for?
Played basketball as my first sport, really my only sport. I always regret a little bit not playing other sports, but I started out at Conway over on the east side of St. Paul.
Wow, I thought you was so like why how was like your childhood growing up, like because you end up end up going to Central, so how did you kind of the Conway, like were you born on the east side?
I moved around so much as a kid. We were just laughing about the other day, me and my mom, but I moved 12 times from the time I was born till I was a senior in high school. So I lived in just about every part of St. Paul you can think of. The only part I think I didn't touch was the west side.
The west side?
I lived everywhere from the Rondo community. I actually lived over there first, over off Burns for a little bit. I moved over on the east side. I actually didn't live on the east side when I played for Conway, so I was just kind of moving around a lot when I was little.
So what made you play for that team?
My mom helped coach, and she kind of got me started, and that's just where she signed me up. So I don't know. I never really asked her, but we just had a little team over there, and we were good too.
Who was on that team? Like, yeah, who were some notable players that was on that team?
It was a long time ago, so I'm trying to think. Like, I know Terry played on that team. She ended up going to Johnson. Nelly played on that team with us. Abigail. Stephanie, her dad was a coach at the time, but we really had like a random mix of girls, and we were out there balling. Fatima, she was another one on that team.
So y'all had a real squad over there. Being from St. Paul, who were like some early influences for you? Like, you played ball, you played early, like you said, you was one sport athlete with that. So like, who kind of influenced you, like people?
Yeah, my mom for sure. She played. She went to Highland.
Okay.
She had a good team when they were at Highland. Like, they went to state. They took second when she played. Like, she played with the Suggs and yep.
Suggs, yep.
So I grew up just in basketball, watching her in the women's league, and I think she was a big influence on me. And again, always one of my assistant coaches on my team. So that's kind of how I got started. I started in second grade, so I've been playing since I was little. And then I would say when I got into traveling, that's when I played for Kevin Carlisle for the Magicians, and his daughter, Kui Carlisle, super great Central athlete. So I was just always around the right group of people in the city to kind of get me started. So I was super grateful and thankful for that.
Well, that's a move right there. Can you kind of describe a moment? Because, everybody has a moment when they realize, I'm better than everybody else, or I'm at this level. Can you like describe a moment that was for you, whether it was a game, something in practice, open gym, anything?
I think it's just in my nature. I'm competitive. I always have been, even when I might have not have thought I was that good or didn't play on the greatest teams, but I always wanted to be the best and beat the best. I think that's just been my mentality since I was little. Super outgoing, like quiet, but I've always just kind of been like that since a kid. So I think that helped drive me. So it kind of felt like no matter where I went, I kind of just attracted like that winning mentality, no matter. And probably, honestly, it probably came from my dad. My dad is like that. Like, my dad will tell you, like, you ain't going to beat him in a spit contest. So it's just the way I was raised, really, just to be confident. Because, I was a tall, little skinny. I was real little, even when people didn't think. I always felt like I had something to prove. So I just think that helped make me tough.
That goes into it. All right, so let's talk about your decision to choose Central and what motivated you to, stick around in the city and go to St. Paul Central.
Yep. I actually went to Highland Junior High.
Oh, okay.
And, going to Central was hard for my mom, who was a Highland grad, who at the time, like, they used to go back and forth with Central. But for me, with my team that I was playing on, my traveling team, and again, like, my coach was Kevin. His daughter played at Central, so we always went to the Central games. So we were watching them. That was just my group in my community that I was hooping with at the time. So we really just wanted to stick together. And a lot of us actually went to Highland Middle School together, but then all decided to go to Central for our freshman year. So it was a no-brainer for me. Like, I was, at the time, in my head, there wasn't a better school in St. Paul. So I'm like, we're going to Central. Yep.
They had some recent success. And who were some players that you used to watch at Central?
Kui, for sure, but even that whole team was good. They went on a little run even before we got there. Ashley Ellis Marlin, like, I played with her. Danielle, Sasha was there already, so they were all older than me. So by the time I got there, like Ashley and those guys were a senior. So I walked into a great program. It wasn't like, we came and made it hot. Like they were already doing their thing before we got there. And I just think that our group was just really able to extend that and bring it to that state championship, which we're grateful for. But it really started before I got there and with the people and the leaders and the older girls that were there when I was a freshman.
Okay. So they kind of paved the way. You got to see how hard they worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like
You watch them play in the city games. You're like, yeah, I want to go there. Like it was an easy choice for me. So.
All right. And what was it like playing for Coach Willie T, man? Legendary coach.
Yes, Willie's hilarious. Willie's one of those people that, you just always have a relationship with. He's himself, He's a great coach, though. I think at the end of the day, like, you just can't deny, like, his thought for the game and just understanding the pieces that he had. I've always appreciated that he let me come in as a freshman, and I feel like I had to earn my spot, but, like, he put me in the right position really early on to where I could play and be successful from the time I stepped foot at Central. So I've always appreciated him. He's like family, at this point. And he's funny. I have so many Willie stories because he's a goofball. He's hilarious.
All right. And what was it like playing with A-Rob and Ebony Black, Georgie Jones, Megan Howard?
Yeah.
Whip right there.
I know.
And so Angel and Ebony, it's hard. Yeah, no, we were deep.
So many.
We could Kiara, we can name the whole squad for sure. Angel and Ebony, though, were another two that I watched when I was younger because they were older than me a little bit. I always blame them because they got the rules changed for St. Paul because when they were playing in 7th and 8th grade, they were mad because they were saying that they were taking opportunities from the other girls. And so you couldn't play high school in 7th and 8th grade where everywhere else you could. And I always feel like, well, that's not fair. Like, you hurt my stats. But yeah, so we played traveling. Actually, my group, we played traveling through 8th grade and we weren't even able to play varsity when honestly, like, we would have been playing varsity before we got there. So, but no, I watch them too. Like, they're, St. Paul legends. They're one of the greats. Super thankful to get Angel over, like, just the way everything happened. We had a really good team. It was like, if you think about the NBA, we kind of did a trade because Sasha and Alex ended up going over to Johnson and then Angel came over to Central. So it was weird at first, but it just worked out. So that's why I don't question anything. I just let things happen and do what it does. And same thing, like, Georgie was at Highland at first when we played them. And we used to go back and forth with them at first. We never expected her to make her way over to Central. So, but again, St. Paul's big, but it's small, especially for girls basketball. So we all knew each other. We all played together growing up. So it just worked. And Megan, I played with Megan. She was on my magician's team too from traveling when we were young. And it was funny because she was going to go to like a private school and we talked her into going to Central. So I'm super glad that she came to Central with us because it just wouldn't have been the same without Megan.
Oh, that's crazy. So back-to-back championships, like you're a part of like real history when it comes to basketball and just, history in general. What was like some of your experiences on both those teams, like, good and bad? Like, what's some good memories from both those teams that you can kind of remember? Because I know there's two different teams. You have one team where you had Angel and it was Ebony on there. Then it was, you all had a whole all-star. Then the next team, y'all still were good, but it was like losing Angel was clearly you saw that. So How were y'all able still to go back to back, and what was like the energy for y'all?
Yeah, it's funny because you just don't realize some things until they're over. So I feel like I reflected and thought about it a lot more as an adult, very far removed from when I was in it. Because when you're in it, you're just so in it. But just amazing, like, especially I think now realizing like what we were able to do for the inner city. I think that's a big part, and that's a part that I appreciate the most. Especially now that you see a lot of inner city kids are going to suburban schools, going to private schools. Like, the landscape looks a lot different than when we were in school. So for us to be right here in our community and just like having your community ride for you was huge. So like my biggest memories usually formulate around us playing South all the time because they had Taylor
Hill,
and just a great rivalry, but they were really good too. And so I just think we were able to do things for, St. Paul and Minneapolis that were it was a time. I always say it was a time. And even like, I think between girls and boys will tell you like how many memories they have of going to those games. Like, we had the inner city all-star game and we had to stop before we could start the game because they had to kick people out because we were at fire code capacity. And I remember like looking at the window and there were people like watching from the outside in the window, like, you know, just to think like for a girls game. But those were my favorite games, I think, because they were fun and I like to be competitive. I think of our conference games, like we won those pretty easily. So I like that challenge of and someone that wasn't afraid to play us, you know. So I love those games. Probably my biggest memories and takeaways from that time for sure.
I know you was playing against her, but I want to, big yourself up because I know it was a lot of Taylor Hill talk for you guys in senior year. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you and Kiara, and y'all held it down and was able to. After losing to them,
I said we lost to them a couple times that year.
That year y'all lost.
Yeah.
A few times because of course the first year we went undefeated historic.
Yeah.
And then that year you lose a few games. So then talk about that, like that challenge of like knowing you're going against somebody else that's a great player.
Yeah.
That's beating you this year. That maybe seeming like they have your number. You just having to lock in and be like, you know what? I'm a senior. I am Kiara Buford. You know, that is Taylor Hill, but I am Kiara Buford. Like, we're going to make sure this gets done. Talk about that game.
Yeah. Senior year, like, you don't got nothing to lose at that point when you're a senior. Losing the other two hurt, but again, like, they were good, and they did have our number at first, and I knew that game wasn't going to be easy. But I think that's that competitive nature. So I think when it came down to it, and I just want to acknowledge like the pieces. We have some really key players really step up in that game. Kiara played well. I know Biddy played really well that game. And I really give props to Sienna because Sienna she had the job of face guarding Taylor and just play defense the whole game. She didn't have to worry about anything else. So like without those little things, like that's what really helped push us over the edge that game. And I think losing to them a couple times that year helped us too. So
it's gonna motivate you for sure.
I mean, but that was my last high school game. So that the mentality is just different, you know, like you don't have nothing to lose. You're gonna put it all on the floor. And in my mind, like win or go home, and we about to win. So, you know, I'm like, I love Taylor. We've always had a good friendship. I actually played with her a little bit in AAU and played for her dad. And I always think that was a moment, too, that helped me grow as a player because I was the first time I'm like, oh, I never had a coach like this before. So we've always been close, but I appreciate that rivalry and just I think it helped make me a better player. And then even going on to play against her in college when she was at Ohio State, like, you know.
It's funny you brought that up because I was like, the next thing I was going to ask you, like, so when it comes to colleges, because you had a successful high school career, what made you go to the U of M? Because I feel like you can let us know. Did you have other offers from? I'm sure you did.
Yeah,
right?
It's funny because I always say I'm going as far as possible from Minnesota. Like growing up, like I thought I'd be like in Florida or something on the beach. But I really think the success that we had here in high school and the momentum that we built up locally like helped me stay home, honestly. I got recruited by a lot of places. I mean, honestly, I should have did a better job of taking more of my visits and probably taking my time. I committed to the U as a sophomore. If I could have done it again, I would have waited just a little bit. Not to say that I necessarily would have went anywhere else, but just to really explore my options.
Did Ashley have any type of influence on that, her playing for the U?
A little bit. And so and I was recruited by a lot of Big Ten schools at that. And so for me, and this was right after the Lindsay Whalen era. So we're watching them go to Final Four, Sweet 16.
It's like the great days.
Yeah, you know, so I'm like, I have the opportunity to compete. You know, I've seen them go to the tournament and do great things. Ashley did go there, so that was a benefit. And then just, I felt like if I could go on add-on and do that for my home state at the time, like that's just where my head was at. So
even cause going in, I know you are a person that played your whole life. When you went in there freshman year, you know, you weren't starting. How did that affect you like mentally? Did that like challenge you more? Was it kind of like put you in the back seat a little bit? What was that like feeling?
I grew a lot from that experience, just overall. And like my freshman year, we did well. We made it to the second round of the tournament. We upset Notre Dame that year, but I really felt like I had to like work for my spot and really play defense for real. You know, I was a tall guard in high school, so a lot of things that were easy for me to do in high school. Not to say I wasn't really good at it in college, but like I had to prove myself. There was girls on our team that were good. We had a lot of seniors when I came in. And so I really felt like I had to do my best and really produce and like prove myself in a lot of aspects, which I feel like helped me go into my sophomore year because by my sophomore year, I was our leading scorer, which I wasn't expecting. But like, I'm like, all right, like me, I need to be on the court. So I need to figure it out. Like whatever Pam needs me to do to be out there, I need to get it done. So I learned a lot. And then even learning how to lose, like I was spoiled in a sense that I didn't lose a lot in high school. I can count on about one or two hands how many games I lost. So experiencing how to lose and just being in a different position, I just really felt like it helped me grow a lot as a player.
It's like a gift and a curse, what you just said there. Like learning how to lose. That's something you don't rarely hear people talk about. So that's real. That's real right there.
Real though, because when you coming from winning since you was young,
You don't know how that feels.
like I don't even know what this feel like.
It's kind of like
game back to back.
it's kind of like a quarterback in the NFL who's cold and he just comes in and all of a sudden it's like, okay, no, this is not.
Manage
it's not
those
that.
emotions. Yeah, it's just different.
That's crazy right there. To like all your coaches, I know you mentioned your early AAU coaches, Willie. How was the coaches in college or whatever the case is?
Yep. It was good playing for Pam. I think I learned a lot from her, just not only as a coach, but just as like a professional.
As a professional?
I even worked for her a little bit after college. She does like executive work now, and she's done public speaking. So she just did a lot of things that I just think about carrying yourself as a professional in a certain landscape that's helped me grow. And there's a lot of things that she did as a coach that even I took as a coach when I started coaching. Just a lot of things she did defensively. And then the good thing about college is you have a number of other coaches too, So like Marissa Mosley, she just was at the head coach for Wisconsin, but then was a assistant over at UConn for a while. And I feel like we learned a lot from her. Barb Smith, who used to play for Ohio State. That was our guard coach for a long time. We had Ted Reverso. So just being able to learn from a variety of different people and taking from it and seeing, I think I learned a lot. I've always been close with my coaches. So I feel like during the journey, whether we were having some success or whether we were struggling, I was really locked in with my coaches. And so I feel like I learned a lot about what their job was like. And I think that's what helped me actually step into coaching after I was done playing. Because there's so much that goes into it that people don't understand. And I'm nosy. I was in the business all the time. So just going through some of the things that they navigated as a coach, like I think that just helped me develop and understand the game of basketball from a different perspective.
Okay.
All right. So what was it like playing alongside a freshman Rachel Banham during your senior year?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you take on a mentor role for her?
I loved Rachel. She was so goofy and silly coming in, and to watch her kind of grow. But just a great player. She's one of those players that she's just a natural baller. Like she has her game. She plays it how she plays it, and just super successful. I always say I had to share co-MVP with her my senior year. And, I don't have a problem doing that because, she came in and did her thing. And our team was in a position, too, where we needed her coming in. And so she was able to come in right away and play and won some big games for us, even as a freshman. Mm-hmm. So loved her to death just as a person, always great energy. She's an amazing player. I always tell my kids when I meet her, like, this is the GOAT right here. So
yeah, she's still playing. She's
playing in the WNBA.
Yeah, she was with Chicago. She was the Sky. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yep.
So just keeping tabs on her, like I said, it's just been so fun to watch her journey and watch her go from being a freshman to now playing in the WNBA. And, I remember games where she was breaking records or scoring records. And when she got to meet Kobe, I know how much she loved Kobe.
Oh, yeah. I see.
So that was super dope. But, yeah, like it's been fun watching her.
Life after college. Did you ever want to pursue going to the WNBA or, like, going overseas for a long extended period of time? Or, like, what was your plans with that?
Yeah, I should have definitely played longer after I was done, for sure. And I think that's, like, I work a lot with athletes and just working on that transition after college. When you play from second grade all the way up, like, it seems like so much, right? You feel like you've been playing this game forever. Even after college, like, I had, like, this nagging, like, foot injury. Like, I was getting a shot just to play for pain at the end. So I had to kind of decide whether I was going to try and get surgery on my foot. And it was like, the recovery could be, we don't know. It's got to see how it goes. However, the other option was to rest. Now, telling an athlete to rest is like, man, like that was hard. So I ended up resting. I did go to the combine, and that's where I found my agent. And then I rested all summer to go overseas first. And so in my mind at that time, I was going to go overseas.
Where'd you play at?
Poland.
Poland, okay.
Yep. Try to do well and then work my way back to the league. The good thing about when I played is all the WNBA players played overseas. So like Neko Gumake was in our league. She was a rookie of the year for the WNBA that year. Tina Charles was in our league. She was the MVP of the league that year. Our point guard on my team was Sydney Colson, who played for the Aces. She recently just got traded. I was in a good league,
yeah, it was real competitive over there.
Yeah, I loved that experience. I knew for sure I wanted to get that professional experience and play because I was tired. I was thinking about it like, am I sure? And for me, I always saw myself doing a lot of other things, even though I didn't really necessarily know what that was. But when you're young, you have this weird perception of like how old you really are and how much time of your life you got. And so I just wish I would have took my time some more and played longer. And my mom used to always tell me that, but it's just some things you live.
How long did you play?
And you go through just for that year.
Just for that 1 year? Okay.
Yep. And then I actually got pregnant with my daughter towards the end of that season when I came back. And even then I was still planning to go play after. I came back. That's when I started working in the high school. So I was working at Cooper. And I really only started coaching because I was like, I need extra money. Like trying to find a job was crazy after I'm like, I had a degree, like it's fine. And then really trying to find a job and get my foot in somewhere that wasn't like this basic entry level job was like impossible. So I just learned a lot through that experience. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people and talking to them through it. And then now working with NIL, like really helping them get that geared up so they're ready to step into what's next for them. But yeah, I wish I would have played longer. And then right when I was in that era of like, okay, I think I'm going to go play overseas again for another year, I got pregnant with my son again. So I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm trying to bring two babies overseas with me. So I stayed here. And then I was coaching by that time and that was going well. So I just became part of my journey.
Speaking of it going well, 2017, 3A state championship, you just mentioned Cooper. How you're not many people in the state have won rings as a player and as a coach. How was that feeling for you? What was that like once you got that moment, once it was accomplished? Like, what was you kind of telling yourself in the mirror? Because I know that's like one of those moments where you're like, yeah.
Again, like it's something that I honestly didn't process until it was over. I am so like when I do things, I do it like 150%. Like this is how I am. And that's probably the reason I stopped coaching because I was working, I had the kids. I'm like, okay, I got to come back to this at some point. But I was so locked in to doing it. I think what was really motivating for me was experiencing that as a player. And so for me to be a coach, like that was my biggest goal. Like I want y'all to experience what I got to experience as a player. And it was all about them at that time. And we had a great team. And we had developed for, from the time I had them as 8th graders, I had like barely.
You had them that long.
Yeah, and that's it's funny because people like don't realize how long I was there, because they realize they remember when I won. And I'm like, oh, we've been here for a couple years, and we worked our way up from being mediocre in our conference, and I think I had 2 seniors my first year at Cooper, and then we were winning our conference and then winning our section. So when we went 3A, I'm like, oh yeah, it's in my head. I'm like, we got this one, like from the beginning of the season. And so, yeah, I had a great coaching staff. I think that really complimented me well. We had great players. I had really good young players, too. I think they were dogs. So I was like, let's get it. And whatever I had to give them to help them get there, like that was the goal. So it was great. It was stressful. I'll tell you, coaching is a lot more stressful than being a player. Like,
we got 2 coaches on a part of our company. They tell us all the time. Actually 3. Yeah, they are. I'm retired.
Yeah, no, it's different, because you can only do so much, but I played with them a lot. Like I competed with them a lot in practices and just try to give them the best of what I had to offer to help them be the best they could be. So it was a great time. I loved it. And again, it was something I wasn't necessarily planning to do at that time. But I think about the successes that I've had in life, and usually I've got them when I haven't been trying, really. Like when I'm just doing what I love and doing what makes sense to me and doing what I'm passionate about, like the rest of it just falls into place,
And it's good when the kids buy in, what I'm saying? That's why I've been telling people it's good when you can get them when they're younger, because it's kind of hard coaching when they already built so many bad habits and had so many different type of coaches. And you can't blame all coaches, but sometimes these kids just getting volunteer coaches. It's not those kids' fault or those coaches' fault that they don't got that much information or know that much. They volunteer, so it is what it is on that aspect. But it is definitely.
That was something I was. Even when she was saying it, I was going to bring that up because you bring that up all the time. You'd be like, I'm not coaching unless I have a core group. And they got to be like in the 7th or 8th grade. You always say that. Sometimes I'm like, what is he talking about? Then now it's like in high school, how it's set up, how parents are set up. it's crazy now. So you kind of got to have a core group that know what their role is, locked in, and then you're going to get it done that way because
buy-in's
it's hard.
important. I was lucky. I was appreciative that I was so young and fresh off of my career because now I be talking to kids and they don't, you know.
Did they know you? Like
it depends. It
Okay,
depends,
okay.
but like not from high school for sure. You know, they were just born.
Yeah, they.
But I started realizing I was old and I'd be working at the school and then I'm talking to the kid and I look at their birthday and it was like 2007 and I'm like, woo.
That's crazy.
And even now,
2007.
and now even, you know, it's been over 10 years since I've been playing at the U, you know, so like time goes by so fast. And then, so it was funny because I would get recognized a lot when I was younger, obviously. And then when I was coaching, I would start getting, you're that. And then I'm expecting they're like, the coach for Cooper. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, yeah, I am a coach now. Yeah, you're right. You know, so, but being young and being able to like get out there, I always imagine like, man, what if I was super old? Like I give credit to coaches that coach when they're really old. They got to get that buy-in and they can't just go on the court and show them what you do or like play some highlights or I just get on the line and be like, whoever I beat's running again, you know? So just all that little stuff really helped. And I had a good group. You know, I think it's all the extra stuff, the stuff that you do off the court that matters and really setting the tone early. And again, I give that to the coaches that I played for that really helped me learn and understand the importance of all that. And I always made that top priority when I coached. So.
And that's good too, because that's tough for a lot of great players. Because to remember like what made them great and not to expect so much from the kids so early. And then, you know, just little steps, fundamentals, working up, you know, their game in, like she said, playing with them, building confidence, like that's very important to get kids to buy in. So that's kudos for that. 'Cause that was big too. Because I remember, I think I donated. I don't want to wolf too much, but I think I donated to make sure the kid could get their ring. You know,
Yeah,
right.
we did do one.
I know I didn't send that much.
Yeah.
But I sent something.
It
Something
all
was
matters
sent.
because
Yeah,
we weren't even
facts.
able to get rings when I played at Central because we didn't
Y'all
have the
didn't?
money. No, they don't
What?
pay
Hold
for
on.
it.
Hold on. What?
You have to pay
you
for
gotta
your
pay
own
for your own,
rings.
yeah.
And so when my girls won it, we did a GoFundMe and our community showed out. Like I had enough. We
did
paid
not
for
know
all
that.
the rings and we paid for our banquet. Like I made sure they got their rings because that we didn't get that.
Is it like that, like in the inner city, or what is that? That's
No,
like that
in
in general. In general,
In general,
it has to
yep.
come out of pocket from the
Yep.
from the players like themselves.
Yeah, or if you got people.
Outside the city, they ready to pay.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you got people that are willing to do it.
Oh yeah, we'll get them all. Yeah,
Right. There's somebody usually like, we got it. But
Yeah.
yeah, when you, it's a lot. And that's the thing about high school coaching. Like, even at Cooper, like, your budget is not big. You know, you fundraise and you do all that work. It's more work than it's a lot for what you get paid. It's not, and I have to remind people like, you know, I have a whole nother 9-to-5 job on top of this, you know, sometimes because they have these expectations of what you put into it. But I enjoyed high school and youth coaching way more than I ever thought I would.
You sound just like
played,
he said youth is way better.
yeah, once I played up, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be hard to like go with little kids, but no, being able to teach them the game, like nothing compares. It's great.
Man, I know this is off the script, but you mentioned it earlier when you came in. Can you describe, because like I know a lot like the NIL deal stuff. Can you describe like what you do for the U of M? Can like you know to the audience?
Yep. So it's almost been 2 years since I've been back at the U. My job is like twofold. So the main part of my job is I run the M Club, which is our letter winners club. So like if you letter in high school, it's similar in college. You get your first year, second year, third, all the way up to 4. And I'm given like letter awards, like your jackets, and that stuff. And then working with all alumni for all sports. And so we have M Club Room that I run on football Sundays or game days, which is for all of our letter winners to come back and just make sure that I'm fostering a community and making sure that they're all involved and then getting involved in all the different sports. So if there's an anniversary for a championship, I'm doing that. I'm doing Hall of Fame stuff. So it's all encompassing, which I like because I get to do a lot of different things. I get to do a lot of events. I get to work with other sports, which I also appreciate. And then the other part of my job is doing NIL. So I always tell people I do the fun part of NIL, where I get to work with athletes on their personal brand and navigating the NIL system as a whole because it's new, right? So figuring out like maybe it's someone has a deal and they have questions, but usually a lot around like content, like how do I get myself out there? How do I enhance my social media to make sure that I'm building relationships with people? I'm putting out good work that's going to benefit me and help me basically get more deals and be successful. And so I love that part. That's That's the stuff I wish we had when I was, you know, playing.
Oh my God, y'all would have ate off of that.
And then just really trying to help them capitalize. And everybody with NIL always thinks of like the big deals and the people that got like Gatorade and the Jujus and the Paige Beckers. And NIL is so much more to that, especially for like the basic athlete. And I don't mean like basic, but you know, the majority of athletes that aren't the 1% and 2%. Making NIL make sense for them. You know, there's opportunities for everybody. And so just kind of helping people figure out where they fit in and how they can capitalize on that is what I do. That's
big because we talk about the NIL stuff all the time. Like you said, it's new. So it's so much stuff that's going on right now within it. You see, you know, they highlight the bad stuff, the negative stuff a lot. But so it's good you saying that because I know there's a few kids here that actually have, I'm pretty sure Anthony Smith, I think he has, was it Dave's Hot Chicken NIL deal? So it's like, it's good to see that them get that opportunity, and you know it's something that you like you said before. In the past, you never got it. I tell a lot of these young kids, I'm like, even with how their games get covered, I'm like, y'all don't take this for granted. We did not have this. We used to have to go through 7. Yeah, it's like so much you had to go to just to see yourself play ball. Where it's like nowadays they kind of take it, you know what I'm saying? So NIL is just one of them things where it's like, bro, this is yours. Like
they got people making highlights for them. Because, you know, you got people that go around the city, and we have a couple that do a good job here in Minnesota, just covering girls and boys high school basketball.
Oh yeah, man! Shout out to us, man. You know?
No, for real. And then posting it, and then, you know, they can use that and just I'm gonna share this and collaborate, and it helps not only the businesses or the people doing the work, but the players too. It
helps everybody. That's why I like. It's a win-win. That's why we like doing that. It's a win-win, like you said.
Yeah.
All right. So what I was saying was, like, in this day and age, some coaches, they just aren't able to either get with the times of like student athletes. It doesn't matter if they're an ESPN top 100 kid or not. They're looking to get their name, image, and likeness out there and try to make some money for themselves, their families, while they're playing college basketball. So it just comes with the territory. And I know with you dealing with all these sports, is that something that you see, or is that something that you like have to advise some of your coaches to like prepare and like be ready for, or let them know like this is what you're here to help with? Like, how is that? How have you seen that? You know,
yeah, I think college sports is just in that adjustment stage because it's inevitable. So whether you like it, agree with it, don't like it, like there's like you said, the pros and cons of the NIL. Just because it's new, there's not a lot of regulation, so there's a lot of things going on, right? It is what it is, though, at the end of the day. So you have to adjust and adapt and meet the players where they're at and understand. And I always say this because I talk to a lot of alumni too who may be older, who, you know, have a whole different experience. Like our experience and how we played and did things is a lot different. Like even when it comes to what's expected of these athletes with the time that they commit, and then like if you're doing NIL, you're doing a lot of extra work on top of trying to go to school and show up and do all the other things. And this doesn't come natural to a lot of athletes. Like they have to put in work to make good content and to do all this stuff. But again, like people have been making money off of athletes for a long time. Sports are very popular right now. It's a big market. It brings in a lot of money. So I think it's due time that athletes start to get some of that money. And again, not just the 1% and the 2%. I think the market will kind of work itself out. You know, you see these big numbers. We had collectives coming apart and finding ways to pay players, and then they were really against like the pay to play to start. As we can see, that's totally different with revenue sharing in the picture this year. Like it's just the thing that's been good, and I like that I got into NIL right away when it's been new, is you're going with the flow and you're learning. Everybody's learning at the same time. Our biggest thing though, and I think one of the most important things, is teaching your athletes how to protect themselves and how to use their resources, how to make sure they have a contract. Make sure they got things in writing. Make sure that they're getting it reviewed. You know, our athletes review their stuff through the law school, free bono. So they just do that. Like that's an expectation. Like put it through. Even if you think it's a good deal, just have somebody review it. Make sure they read the fine details and make sure you're getting a good deal. And then making sure they're able to commit and do the work that it takes to actually maintain that. You know, it's a two-way street. But I just think them kind of understanding how it works, understanding how to allocate their time, not to do too much. You can only do so much when you're an athlete. And then for coaches, you know, they're at a high level, you know, where I'm at. So they do their own thing. It's one of the, they get with the program, or their programs reflect that, you know, like you got PJ, he's going to go and he's going to be selling his NIL and everything he does.
He's out.
You know, he don't really need anybody in his ear to help him, you know. And again, like, that's the part where it gets tough when the school is figuring out how to find money for rev share and doing all that extra stuff. And that's why I appreciate just working with the athletes and doing that part of it. It's a lot less stressful, I would say. Because like fundraising and asking people money is not one of my favorite things to do. You know, I like to give service and to provide and do that type of stuff. So, and then again, help them earn. But like I said, there's so many potential opportunities, and it's just taking advantage of that and helping even the school just build partnerships with people that want to support our athletes and help them be successful. And again, for a win-win, because again, athletes are popular. It can help your business if you're doing it the right way. But yeah, it's interesting to continue to see how it unfolds.
That's what I was gonna say, like, for if there's some like local
Businesses out there, you want to? We got some people that's going to see this. So they're like local owners, or like how would they get in touch with the U of M or the athletes to try to let them know, like, hey, we got whatever we can do, whatever it's just a couple ads we need you to do, whatever we can do to help with your name, image, and likeness, and that also can help us with our business. How can they do that?
That's the great part about the collective. You know, Dinkytown athletes, they sign athletes. They help kind of bridge that gap between getting athletes, making sure the content gets done. And so they're always a great starting point just to get involved, especially for local businesses. We have some even local but bigger businesses that will go straight to our university and kind of work with Gopher Sports Properties through Learfield because they do like our partnerships. So that's another avenue for businesses for them to get involved. But Dinkytown's always a great start, especially if you're local looking to do something small, because people think they have to do something grand, and it can be something small,
Right. Small.
you know. And then if you have opportunities for them to do, especially when they're coming up and we're doing rev share and other things, they need activities to do sometimes too to make money. So just connecting with them is always good. They have their own website at dinkytownathletes.com. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of game. That's a lot of NIL games she just gave y'all. Like, so I'm definitely gonna make sure they hear that part. So like, yeah, that's big. No, for real. 'Cause like you said, it's new. A lot of us, we know some parts of it. You work directly in it, so it's like you can tell us the stuff that we don't know or should know. So that was definitely real informative right there. So what's your plans like for the next couple of years when it comes to the NIL deal and your position? There is that something you want to continue to do? Will you get back into coaching or?
Yeah, so my kids are getting big. London's catching up to me in size. So I love that my job is, I do a lot, but I'm flexible enough to really be hands in on both my kids' basketball and football and everything they want to do right now. And so that's really important to me. Really putting that time in. I will be back to coaching at some point.
Okay.
Hopefully coaching my daughter here soon. She's been playing for a couple different people and trying to find a way. She was playing up. Now she's playing her age. So we're trying to just find a group for her to get solid with. And I'd love to coach her at some point. But I'll be back to coaching, I think, when the time is right. For now, I just think getting into college sports was a good shift for me from working. I worked in education for 10 years, doing behavior and administration. So getting back into the sports world has been big for me. And just with my job, I get to do so much networking and meeting people. And that's been the greatest part. So continuing to network, continuing to learn, continuing to grow with the NIL landscape, not only for what I do, not just for what I do with mentoring other athletes, but for my own kids as well, just helping make sure that they're set up in a way and they're ready. I think with rev share coming up and the shift that we're kind of looking at, and that's getting a little bit more prevalent, is helping athletes become good content creators, because athletes aren't always influencers. And I think sometimes we have that expectation, or you might have some that are good at it, but it's not like it just comes naturally. A lot of athletes are put into their game. Like their focus is playing football, playing basketball, like they're ballers.
Trying to make them be something else almost.
Yeah, they're not at home making blogs and stuff. So helping them figure that out to where it's easier for them, so that it's not like this side thing and they can learn how to do it. And again, this is something that even I still work on. Like there's so much NIL content that I got to figure out how to work, be a mom, and then put out my own content to help put it out there. So hopefully y'all will see some stuff from me soon. But teaching them how to do that in while they're doing what they're doing, and to use other people, whether they got a roommate or a college friend that can just record stuff for them while they're out, learning how to use content that other people already are creating for them. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'm really focusing on with the NIL landscape coming up here.
That sounds like a plan. That sounds like you're going to be real busy. Sounds like it's going to be impacting a lot of lives. So you definitely got our support. So whatever you got going on, we will do what we can to help, share it, promote it, talk about it, tell somebody. It doesn't matter. So Yeah, so we appreciate you pulling up. This was definitely another Twin City Sports Classic episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. Always.
No, for sure.
Always.
So appreciate you
Yeah,
coming, man. It's been
always.
another episode.
Kiara Buford, and I'm on Twin City Sports.